First launched in 2020, Ontario's Graduation Coach program for Black students has already helped more than 1,000 high schoolers across the province. With us now on how it's working in their area, from Windsor, Ontario, Sydney Moore, graduation coach in the Windsor-Essex Catholic District School Board, and Noemi, who is a high school student in the Windsor-Essex Catholic District School Board. Welcome.
Hello.
Good evening.
I'm going to start with you, Sydney. Not too long ago, you were walking the same hallways as the students you coach. What has it been like for you to perform this role?
It's been amazing. It's definitely been inspiring to hear and be a part of the visions of what the students want. As you noted, the graduation coach program started in 2020. I began in October of 2021 with the goal of helping students achieve their academic dreams and also to help when it comes to their well-being. This position is embedded with mentorship, where I'm a mentor to the students overall, and I provide culture responsive support with addressing areas of need and focusing on leadership opportunities, transition activities when it comes to secondary to post-secondary transitions, focusing on engagement, social emotional well-being, academic success to help change climates.
I'm curious if you can help give us a little distinction here, because some people might say a graduation coach, hey, that sounds a little bit like a guidance counselor in the same regards of getting credits, having that face-to-face interaction with students. What are sort of the differences between the position you have and, say, a regular guidance counselor in a high school?
Yeah, it's the idea that I work with our self-identified Black students to help build trust within their community. Also, it wasn't that long ago, like you said, when I was walking the same pathway to and from school, by creating safe spaces for them within the schools and providing a platform where I'm opening doors, breaking barriers, and establishing pathways for them to succeed. While building safe spaces for Black students, we're also creating a more inclusive and equitable environment for anyone that is marginalized within the educational system.
All right. Noemi, I'm curious, what motivated you to connect with Sydney in the first place?
So in the beginning of the school year, a variety of things happened where anti-Black racism was occurring. And when the students in my school, we tried to talk about it, get people involved, but the problem was that nobody was actually paying attention or listening. So I was talking to another teacher and they said they would try to the school's gonna bring in the guidance coaches, the graduation coaches, and I personally just wanted to go check and see if they were actually here to help us, what their goal was, and if they were here for the school or for the students. Later on, we found a way to work together through creating a focus group where we brought students in to amplify their voices to make sure that people were feeling heard and respected.
Now looking at it, now that you sort of have a relationship with Sydney, do you find you're looking for mostly emotional and psychological support? Is it academic support? What type of support are you seeking?
I would say it's more like social, social. When I say social and support, I mean I just want support through the process. I want advice. I want somebody a nice face to look at, just making sure that I have somebody to encourage me and that is there for me to make sure that I feel comfortable doing what I'm doing. That's the kind of support I'd say that I'm looking for. All right. That she's provided.
Sydney, how does the emotional well-being of Black, African, or Caribbean students influence their educational outcomes?
There's a variety of things that it does. Academic support is very important, but also social emotional is important too. Uplifting their truths, their stories, and making sure that their lived experience is being amplified. You want to be an active listener in supporting them in their endeavors.
And Noemi, you are now a student coordinator at your school, where you essentially work and listen with your peers and sort of understand sort of the troubles they might be having or the successes they may be achieving. What are some of the most common concerns or issues you hear from your Black classmates when it comes to their academic success?
That teachers do not respect them or take them seriously, and that they feel like nobody wants to hear what they have to say. That is the main concern we're having as of right now, is that nobody's taking us seriously and they don't care enough to actually pay attention to what we're trying to say.
And so, Sydney, you hearing what Noemi has to say regarding sort of what peers and sort of classmates are going through, how does that process work where, a student may be feeling sort of these responses from whether it's other classmates, administrators, or teachers, how do you then sort of work with them?
I feel like every situation is different and individualistic what the students are going through. But through with the process of the focus groups that we had at Noemi School, we're able to listen to the experiences, what the students are feeling, amplifying their stories, and then, working systematically to help to change and, eliminate some of the barriers or gaps that they're experiencing. The biggest thing is we want to build trust within the educational system, and being able to support them on those endeavors are very important.
All right, now let's talk about some barriers. I want to look at some data. This is some data that outlines barriers that Ontario students face in high school and beyond. Between 2006 and 2011, 69% of Black students graduated from high school in Toronto compared to 84% of white students. During the same period, 42% of Black students were suspended at least once compared to 18% for white students. As well, just 53% of Black students were enrolled in academic classes compared to 81% of white students and 80% of other racialized students. This research was conducted by the organization Pathways to Education and published in 2019. The data comes from seminal studies in Ontario's education system alongside statistics from the TDSB, Toronto District School Board. Sydney, I want to come to you first. One of the things that's quite obvious is that data that we just put out there was from looking at 2006 to 2011, data from 12 years ago. I'm curious, do we need more race-based data on educational outcomes?
I definitely think so. I think it's allowing us to actually see the symptoms of what is occurring systematically. I think data is very important, and it will help, address some of the issues that are occurring.
And let's have a look at that data in terms of the factors. What are some of the factors that contribute to the lower graduation rates of Black students in Ontario?
I think it's the barriers in itself. There are a variety of barriers when it comes to physical barriers, systematic barriers, financial and economic barriers, when it comes to race-based barriers as well. So anti-Black racism, racial biases, micro and macroaggressions, transitional barriers, pathway barriers, social, emotional, environmental. It can be a combination of all of that and the intersectionality of all those barriers and gaps.
With all the students that you work with, can you give us sort of an example? Of course, not getting too personal with their stories, but do you have an example of some sort of concern or issue or barrier that a student has sort of approached you with and that you are sort of have worked on a solution towards?
Yeah, one of the examples was there was a student that was in the applied level stream. They were doing amazing work and they were getting 80s and 90s. And we had a conversation. I asked the student, I said, why don't we see if you can go into the academic stream and see what you can do there, because it would open a lot of pathways for you. So we worked together with guidance and we had the student go into the academic stream, and now they're going to be going into university in September. So, addressing things and, asking questions is very important.
Noemi, have you or your peers on that conversation about streaming experienced racial discrimination in the academic streaming process?
Yes. When I was younger, like right before grade 9, most of my teachers were white, and most of the students in my school were Black, African American, Caribbean immigrants most of the time. So what would happen is a lot of the teachers wouldn't try to teach us what streaming is. They wouldn't tell us much about what will happen if you don't take academic or if you take applied, the opportunities you can get. Most of the time, they just tried to push us throughout what they thought we could do. They never actually asked us what we wanted and what we needed. They just felt like they knew better than us and didn't really take the time to appreciate or listen to us, our feelings, and what we had to say about school and what we want to do for our future. Because of that, it put a lot of people backwards, and it put a stop for a lot of people. They didn't know what to do. They didn't have the help they needed because nobody told them this was going to happen. And yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
I'm curious, before Sydney's position, was there anyone that you felt that was advocating for you, making sure that, hey, look out for something like this, if you think you are, maybe don't need to go into applied, that you can go into academic. Was there anyone that was sort of looking out for you in that regard?
I would say my parents, they tried their best to tell me what they experienced, what they went through. Like back in the day, there wasn't like, they didn't really give them the choice. They
Hmm.
just put them there. They were telling me just be careful, make sure you know what you're doing, make sure you do your research so that you don't make the same mistakes that we were put into.
Okay. Sydney, in 2020, the Ministry of Education announced that it would end the practice of academic streaming in grade 9, starting with math, recognizing that it was systemic, racist, and discriminatory. Now, looking back at it, now that's 3 years out, what impacts have we seen?
It's the idea that the Black community has felt like a lot of the Black students have been disproportionately streamed into applied and locally developed streams as a result of systemic factors. These factors deprive students of their full opportunity. So when we are de-streaming, we're allowing students and their families more time to decide which pathway is best for them. The level in which a student is streamed can open, close, or prolong the barriers or the opportunities that they have to go into post-secondary institutions.
Would you like to see this initiative applied more broadly? I know it started with math and there were a number of other courses that would follow suit. Would you like to see it across the board?
I definitely think it would be a great start. We also have to remember too that there were classes that were already de-streamed when it comes to geography, our religion, and things like that that have already been embedded within our systems that have been at a more of an open level.
All right, Sydney, I want to talk to you about suspensions and expulsions. Racialized students, particularly male, Black, and Indigenous students, have a higher rate of suspensions and expulsions. Experts have analyzed that in many ways as a result of discrimination, reaction to trauma. What do you think is happening there?
I think that it leads to harmful and poor outcomes, especially for Black and Indigenous students. It adds to labeling, stereotypes, and it also can limit a student's potential. It can lead to overrepresentation of our Black youth in the criminal justice system, increased dropouts, and failed course accumulation. And overall, it takes the students away from being in the classroom setting where they're meant to learn.
Now, Noemi, I don't know if you knew this, but in 2020, the Ontario government eliminated discretionary suspensions for students from kindergarten up to grade 3, recognizing that suspensions are often prejudice. And I'm curious, do you think that we should be considering that for older students as well?
We definitely should, obviously, because it's still happening. Yes, there might be a rule, but there are a lot of people that are in the position of power who could easily ignore that and just go make a loophole and say, I didn't do it because of race. I did it because I saw this or I saw that or I heard this or heard that, when in fact it might not be true. I think it's important that we do we do like expand that, because the older you get, the more responsibility you have. And if people are stopping you from going to school and getting the education you need, it really just puts a damp, and like it's a big challenge that you'd have to face on your own. And if you don't have that kind of support, and if you're always being pushed away from what you need to be and where you need to be, it's just like, it's not helpful at all.
All right, let's talk about some support. Sydney, when we talk about culturally responsive support, what does that actually mean?
So it's the essence of having the ability to understand cultural intersectionality and the differences, the ability to recognize potential biases that can be embedded both overtly and covertly within institutions. When we're providing culturally relevant support, it empowers students on multiple levels: intellectually, socially, emotionally, and politically. It enhances their overall understanding, knowledge, skills, and attitudes when it comes to institutions and how to, eliminate the stress that they might be feeling. It's work that can be done by anyone that wants to work inside of educational systems. It's making the students feel like they're being represented. It's creating open door policies. It's creating courage and strength. And also it's being an active listener to what the students need.
Noemi, I'm curious, how has working with Sydney changed your goals for the future?
It helped me gain more knowledge on how important it is to support, and how communication about things that feel important is like, it's important. Because of Sydney, I now want to make sure that I'm able to put myself out there and participate. Now I'm more willing to speak up and try my best to help and support others. With the help of Sydney, like I said, it's important to communicate about things that also feel wrong to you. Because if you never speak up, there will never be change. So with the help of Sydney, I've helped myself speak up, and I'm more willing to hear others and speak up for them, because it does take a lot of strength and courage to even say things out loud, because you never know what could happen if you end up saying the wrong sentence to the wrong people.
Sydney, it must be nice to hear those kind words. I'm curious, how do you know how much impact you have on the students that you're working with? And, it wasn't that long ago that, you were walking those halls, how important such a role is to have at schools like that as a graduation coach.
I feel like definitely over time and hearing the students' experiences in ways that I've, just changed their lives in different ways. For me, it can be something small, but for them, it's something big. So, being that person for them and helping them navigate the educational system is amazing. I couldn't do the work without help and without support. And I'm so happy that I'm working inside of an institution that wants to work on these changes that are, happening across our system.
And let's talk about solutions. High school it can be 4 or 5 years, but is just the start of the journey to whether it's post-secondary or to the workforce. Sydney, how do we effectively and appropriately address the lower rates of Black students transitioning into post-secondary or the workforce?
I think eliminating the barriers that I spoke about previously is definitely a start. Building social bonds and social capita so our students can be connected to communities and networks beyond just themselves and their families by creating environments where they feel like they're being represented when it comes to culturally relevant pedagogies, embedding that within our system, amplifying the students' voices, experiences, and truths, and inspiring them to be the change that they want to see.
Noemi, I'm gonna read a quote that Sydney likes to say. In order to be it, you have to see it. How does that quote resonate with you?
Well, I learned a few weeks, like last week, we talked about how most of the time you tend to act the way that people see you as. So if people say you're not smart or you're violent, you tend to act out on those emotions and those words, right? But I believe that being able to see people who look like you do things that seem too difficult or challenging makes it easier for someone to imagine themselves in that kind of position, which helps them bring in inspiration and motivation. Being able to see what Sydney's doing makes me feel like I could do it too. Honestly, back in the day, I would have never been here where I am right now. I would have never spoke up, but hearing her talk about how important it is to help others make me feel like I should be doing the same thing as well. Made me feel more motivated, inspired by her to speak up, not be afraid to say how I feel, and to talk to others and to never back down from a challenge.
Amazing words. Sydney, last question to you. Of course, you are in Windsor. There are a number of school boards that might be looking at ways to address sort of the systemic barriers that their students are facing. What is it that they need to pay attention to as a graduation coach, or this program that you think that they should take part in?
I think that the graduation coach program should be utilized across the system throughout all boards. The work that we're doing is very important, and I'm just one person that's within this program. There are many graduation coaches who are doing amazing work. So I think that definitely every board should get on board with supporting this initiative. It's something that can, address a lot of the barriers and gaps and to bring light for our students.
Sydney, Noemi, thank you so much for taking the time and sharing your experiences. All the best to you and all the tests that you have coming your way, Noemi.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The Agenda with Steve Paikin is made possible through generous philanthropic contributions from viewers like you. Thank you for supporting TVO's journalism.